Welcome to the Best of the Best, brought to you by Biles Wilson, a boutique business litigation firm based here in the Dallas area.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Wilson.
And I'm Dunham Biles. And we're lucky today to be joined by my good friend, Marc Massad of Encore Bank. Welcome, Marc.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Good to see
Appreciate you having me.
Well, as you know, we like to invite some guests on, friends who've had some success in their careers, and talk to them about, how they got there, who they are, and how their business is going, and maybe any advice they have for younger people who are looking to get into a similar field. So, Marc, I think, as I know, you grew up in Oklahoma, right?
Yep, born and raised.
Yeah.
North of the Red River. I defected to Texas as fast as I could, though.
Yeah. So what happens during the rivalry week here for you?
First, it's OU Texas, so we got to set the record straight. And this year, not a whole lot happened. We're just going to forget that this year happened, but it's a fun time to just get family together and see old friends for sure.
Yeah.
And have a corny dog.
There you go. I do appreciate that in Texas, for some reason, they're called corny dogs, and I think everywhere else it's just corn dog. But
I didn't think about that, but they taste better too.
Now, I happen to know you're married. And is your wife from Oklahoma too? Or?
No, she grew up here in Plano, and I tell people I came for work, so that was really code for chasing the love of my life. And 3 kids here in North Dallas, and Dallas has been great to me, and I love this community, and it's just it's a very collaborative, business-friendly community. I feel like everybody in a professional and business sense will give you a shot, and then it's up to you to put in the work and bring the results. But I think it's a very large city, small community feel here, and it's been great to us and our family.
So how did you get into banking originally?
The short version or the long version?
We'll start with the short, and we'll ask Jeremy to help you expound upon that.
All right, so I'll give you the medium. I'll start with the medium. So my father was a doctor. I was pre-med at the University of Oklahoma, and had to take a business elective class, and I took Introduction to Entrepreneurship, and we just did a bunch of case studies where you study different businesses, different stages of their life cycle, and smitten by it. Naturally, it was a lot more exciting than organic chemistry. So told my father, I was like, look, I don't think medicine's for me. I love the service side of it, where I think really has lent well to the banking and professional financial services side. It is a service business, but I didn't have the guts for it. But honestly, I'd set my sights on working for a startup company in North Texas, wanted to get to Dallas. Like I said, just a great community, and was going to accept this job at a startup company here in Dallas. And they were recruiting out at the University of Oklahoma Career Fair. And long story short, got caught up with a friend of mine who had taken a job with a bank and never took that other job, got into banking. The rest is history. So that's the medium version.
Excellent. And then now you're at Encore, and Encore, I think, actually has a longer history than I knew. Apparently, I didn't realize this. It actually started in 1997 under a different name.
Right.
But how did you come to join Encore? And tell us just a little bit about Encore.
Yeah, Encore Bank we bought a bank. It was called the Capital Bank in Little Rock, Arkansas. But Encore Bank is an idea that we want to go build a very business-friendly, business-focused bank, focus on the right people, invest in the technology, and do it on a branch-light basis across a regional scale. Fast forward to today, we are in 17 metro markets across the Southeast, 7 states, really one office or branch in every market we're in, and we're banking primarily entrepreneurs, family-run businesses, private equity-owned businesses, and helping them with working capital needs and core banking services and solutions. The opportunity was really timely in that we were noticing really 3 main shifts in the industry since the 2008 crash. One was major consolidation, and banks really $1 to $10 billion in assets have been gobbled up, and it's just been a huge kind of wasteland. And the value of that $1 to $10 billion is you're of a certain size where you can bring the products and tools to the table and grow with your clients, but you're still able to deliver at a high touch kind of service focused model. 2, access to technology. Technology is a lot better today. We can build a bank on today's technology, implement it, and bring it to our clients pretty easily. And then 3, honestly, even before the pandemic, in-branch activity has been on the decline. So making an investment in brick and mortar is not the highest and best use. There's still value to it. So we made the decision with those kind of industry shifts to say, look, let's invest in people, technology, because technology is only as good as the people that deliver it, and go build great teams and great markets serving the right people. And at the end of the day, it's people, if is the common theme, right? You get the right people under the hood with you. And the way we capitalize the bank, so we found this bank in Little Rock was $150 million in assets, really half in bonds, half in loans in March of 2019. And we said, look, traditionally you could go invite your 10 rich buddies to invest in the bank or talk to institutionals. And we said, look, there's a way to broaden that invitation and do a retail raise. We didn't hire a bank, an investment bank. We did the raise ourselves. Lots of coffees. I gained a lot of weight, a lot of cocktails. But really, it was a personal invitation with the idea that if we invite, a select number, 100 or so shareholders in every market we want to go into, then we get to focus on banking the top percentage of our relationships, banking our shareholders, and banking 1 degree of referrals they're going to make for us. And why that's so valuable in the banking world is, and the statistics will show you, the FDIC you can research, community banks always outperform large banks on bad loans, credit quality.
Sure.
Because you see these people in the community. And so you have that alignment with these shareholders and clients. And that is table stakes, especially in an environment that we've been through over the last 18 months. And it's come through in spades where our asset quality, our bad loans, credit quality has really been outperforming our peer group. On top of that, what we did, which has really been the most rewarding, the most powerful piece of our culture and organization, is we asked every employee to buy stock in the company. We invited them to buy stock in the company, and almost 100% of our employees bought stock in this company. We're not an employee-owned company, but 100% of our employees, we only sold common stock, so we have equal class common stakeholders from the back to the front to the top to the bottom. We wear these cheesy bracelets that says "We win together," but it's so powerful when each one of your team members acts like an owner, they care differently, and mostly, and what's most underrated is we solve problems differently, because every startup business, every company's going to have opportunities to overcome and challenges to solve for. The whole team just links arms and finds a solution to best serve the client. So again, common theme is the people. Get the right people, in the trenches with you. So
you mentioned that you said it's a branch light kind of model. For our viewers, could you kind of maybe explain, because we bank with you and we understand how that works, but I think our viewers maybe not. You said you have primarily 1 branch in each region that you're in.
Yeah.
What's that look like for your customers? I mean, like in terms of their interaction with you, how do you maintain that level of community, like you said, to maybe somebody who's used to going down to their local branch?
Yeah, I mean, it's a physical location. There's just one in every city we're in, and we want to bring the bank to you. It's not that your interaction changes. It's just less you coming to us and we're coming to you, whether it's with the people or the technology. And the option of last resort would be for you to come into the office. That's really the activity. And again, a lot of that is driven just by the type of currency we all use and commerce with. And so unless you have cash and coin, there's little need to go into the bank.
Sure.
Yep.
And so the environment that we built, and we all learned this through the pandemic, you can operate a bank remotely in a lot of ways. And so when we did make the decision to open up branches or offices in each market, what was the style, what was the environment that was really going to be a useful distribution channel for our services? And if you come, you'll see it's, as you all are familiar, it's very warm, hospitable, built for entertaining and activating and engaging our clients and shareholders. Yes, there is a branch, but it's not a teller line that looks like one you'd see at the corner of Main and Main. It's very boutique, as you all said. And so that's really kind of that comfortable feeling that you're going to see in one of our locations, where strangers aren't staring over your shoulder or listening to you.
Well, I've got to ask you a question about that, because it's right there on your website. It's boutique, it's luxury, and you actually have on your website that people will know your name. That would seem, I think, hard for anybody to believe, except for I happen to know it's true because I bank with you. And I show up randomly at your bank sometimes to do banking needs, other times just to say hello to you or what have you. And every time I walk in, I'm greeted by name. So how do you do that? How do you get people to care enough about their customer to know them by name?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, the people in that culture, that ownership attitude. But truthfully, at the end of the day, there's room. I mean, there's over 3,000 banks across the country. There's room for all providers, no different than the legal field.
Sure.
You cannot be all things to all people, and nor should you try. So as much as we find exactly what we're good at and know that and be confident in that and preserve and deliver all our resources to those types of clients, that's how. I mean, you're going to curate a great client list and one that you know their needs because that's who you bank. And we bank entrepreneurs because we are entrepreneurs. And when you're starting a law practice, it's really no different than starting a bank. You're just building a company that's a law firm or building a company that's a bank. And so over a regional basis too, you can get size. Today we're about $4 billion in assets, but you're divided out across 17 markets. So every market we're in has a boutique roster of clients that we get to take care of 300, 400, 500 clients. So it's not overly burdensome. Whereas a money center bank, for example, might have thousands and thousands, constant turnover as well. We have little to no turnover because that ownership mentality and really a select client list.
So I think that was a great point you made, which is that businesses shouldn't try to be everything to everybody because then they lose their actual value and what they're really good at. So how is it, or who is it that should go, well, I need a new bank. I'm looking for a new bank. So who is it that should be coming to you? Like, what is truly the people that you provide the most value to?
Yeah, business owners and privately held businesses, or like I said, family owned or private equity owned businesses. We call it low middle market, small public companies all the way down to the independent practitioners. You obviously have outliers on each side of that spectrum.
Oh, sure.
But it's companies that are growing. They have working capital needs. We have a fully integrated and built out treasury management platform to help with how businesses pay people and receive payment, make that process as optimal as possible, help them with growth capital, financing acquisitions, whether there's a growth opportunity, whether they want to buy a building. Again, these are folks that we align best with who are really kind of building their business in their respective industry the same way we are in ours. And that's, again, the right people and the right industry in terms of knowing how you're going to attack that industry. And so, again, could be independent manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, professional service companies, nonprofits. That's a little bit of a flavor of the type of clients we have.
Sure. I think when you and I met 3 or 4 years ago, I think Encore was in Arkansas and Dallas, and that was it. And now you're in 17 markets. I think you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, as I recall, here in Texas, and both of the Carolinas and Colorado and
Florida, yep,
Missouri.
Yep, Missouri.
So how do you go from 3 years ago being Arkansas, Dallas to taking over 17 markets?
We were fortunate to each have careers at large public regional banks and beyond. And so when we put this business plan together and identified markets we liked, and these aren't surprise markets, like you said, Charlotte, Tampa, Denver, Austin, these are strong markets. We wouldn't launch that market until we found the leader who could recruit the capital, bring on the shareholders, bring the team on, find the office space, the branch, and then bring on the customer base. And fortunately for us, by virtue of most of our track records, like I said, we've had colleagues in each one of these markets, and you recruited those people and convinced them to join this crazy ride with us, and they did. And then that person had a friend in Tampa, and so on and so forth. And so that's what's been fun. It's been a really attractive opportunity for team members to be part of the ownership team, to really help build something really great and different. And just, we all know how to do the job. Here's an opportunity. Let's go do it for each other. Being privately held is a phenomenal treat, having come from publicly traded companies. And the part of that I've really come to appreciate and acknowledge is that we get to be completely transparent with each other. Naturally, when you're a public traded company, you just can't be that transparent with your team members and associates for their protection. It's not anybody's issue. But for us, we are completely transparent with each other. And like I said, we all solve problems together. And go to market in the same manner, regardless if it's a San Antonio style versus a Charleston flavor versus a Boulder flavor. We all have our own little flavor, but it's the same kind of core competencies we get to deliver.
Is the lower physical footprint model something that's growing in the banking industry, or is that something that is kind of more unique to
Yeah.
you guys are kind of pioneering, or is that
No, I mean it's not. We're not inventive by any means. We've just kind of the industry has evolved in a way that we could do this again. And other banks have done this well. There's still a need for branches, no doubt, and over time that will continue to diminish. The banking sector is getting competitive, not just from banks, but from Chime, from Square, from Apple. I mean, these are all examples of people wanting to get in the banking space.
Yep.
And so we've always got to be investigating leading edge technologies that we can partner with. We're never going to invent the technology fast enough, but there are great partners. And to that point, we've invested in startup companies. We've invested in accelerator funds to have a front row seat at some neat technologies. So I do think over the very long term, I mean, it's at risk for sure. In today's world, it's still a core piece of the business model as a distribution point of what we sell.
Yeah, I've been really impressed at how well it works. Because we, growing up, I worked in a number of other businesses, and every day, especially if you get a lot of checks, you got the banker bag, and somebody's got to run it down and deliver it to the branch, and you're at the end of the day trying to get in there before they close or in Dropbox, and like with your bank, for example, we were very quickly had our own check scanner at our office. I mean, we love coming to your office, but we really don't ever have to.
You don't have
And
to.
it's really been very seamless and worked pretty well. So
Yeah, and the one thing we swear by is if you're ever stuck in like teleprompter land, we've done something wrong. So you have everybody's cell phones,
Right.
Because like I said, the technology works until you need some help, and you have their cell phones, and our team will jump on the phone with you and.
Oh, that's the other thing, or just an email, quick, amazing response. I send an email. I'm going to get something back in 5 minutes. Going, hey, either I can help you, or they've already looped in somebody else who already has. So you guys are definitely doing it right.
Well, I appreciate that.
That's been really great for us.
Good.
So can you maybe tell us a couple of challenges that you see businesses having that maybe Encore is able to help some of your clients with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you ask me after tomorrow, Tuesday, November 5th?
Well, yeah, you're always welcome back, Mark.
I think it's a little bit to your comment about what we've been mindful of in our industry and other entrepreneurs. I get it. My wife is a pastry chef. She owned a bakery in town, and I witnessed this firsthand. As a business owner, you're busy running a business, and so you're not out at conferences and staying in touch with new technologies or new platforms to pay folks or receive payment. And so that's hopefully where we bring a resource to bear and saying, look, our job is to be one of those trusted advisors like you all for your clients. And so as much as you're busy running your business, allow us to bring resources to the table. And where we've seen things like that is, hey, the technology that everybody is starting to really accept in commerce on the commercial side, not P2P stuff, is, look, checks, oddly enough, people don't realize the real cost of a check is not the 10 cents it takes to print it. The real cost of the check, there's still massive fraud.
Yes.
The stamp, it gets lost in the mail, all these things. The real cost of a wire is extremely expensive. So there are other platforms and ways that everybody's accepting on a commercial level to receive payment. We're rolling out, same day ACH in the system. So that's the cheapest, most effective, least costly way. Again, fraud remarkably, and maybe it's just this time of year, fraud continues to be such an active discussion across, all banks, all sizes. Yep. So bringing fraud prevention tools to the customers where they might not think it's, worth paying for, but I assure you, because we have now, data that can tell you, hey, it happens to the best of us. It's not anything you're not doing, but there are tools. Use these tools to help protect yourself, help optimize your cash collections, and then how do we augment any of that with a loan product? And so really thinking about maximizing how the deposits and your cash is working for you, and then we can augment your business objectives with loan dollars. Where I think previously everyone's like, I need a loan, let's talk to a bank. Oh, hey, there's some other services that you should really be talking to your bank about.
Gotcha. Let's talk about good old interest rates too.
Oh yeah.
Everybody likes to talk about interest rates, and I think it's self-evident about the issues that causes within the home mortgage world and home buying, but you're dealing with this on the commercial side. So
Yeah.
how are interest rates impacting your businesses or the bank or both?
Yeah. So if this is advice to some folks you said that might want to pursue this career, don't start a bank during a worldwide pandemic and the craziest interest rate environment in modern banking history.
Or if you do hire Mark.
Yeah, exactly. I will say it has been an education for everybody. It really is truly is unprecedented. You know, to and you made a comment about mortgages where a lot of customers associate what the Fed's doing with a mortgage rate. And they're really different things. One is a short-term rate. That's what the Fed controls with the money supply. And one is a long-term rate, which really is driven by the bond market. And so if people say rates, I heard the Fed's going to drop rates, I'm going to go get a mortgage. They are correlated in an indirect way, but not directly. The Fed and money supply decisions affect short-term borrowings. And that is absolutely affected businesses because if it costs 4 or 5% to borrow money to go purchase inventory, to manufacture a product, sell, wait for the customer to pay you, you're paying 4 or 5% in carrying costs on a loan. Now that's 8-9%, and that's significant. As you kind of extrapolate that to the mortgage and consumer impact, that is an increase of price that makes it to the customer. If you're a home builder and you are borrowing money at 4% to build a home, buy materials, et cetera, and now you're borrowing money at 8, 9, and 10%, that makes its way to the customer's, ticket price ultimately. So it is unique, but I feel it's been a good education. At the end of the day, we see this through any cycle, even through the pandemic. Well-run businesses survive, and that's about sticking to the fundamentals, blocking and tackling, taking care of your customers, doing the right things for the right people, and the folks that were maybe less disciplined are going to get exposed, and I think that's what we've seen.
When you mentioned the tomorrow election day, right? I think the issue there is right from the bank's perspective or from your customer's perspective is one of uncertainty. It presents no one knows what the result's going to be, and so therefore it creates a disincentive to make certain investments or borrow a certain amount of money just because they don't know. Is that what goes on?
100%. I mean, it's psychological in a lot of ways. And so whatever the outcome is, my hope and prayer is that it's resolute and definitive, and we can. That's the beautiful thing about America. I mean, my family is immigrants. I think 90% of us come from immigrant family.
Yeah.
But the inventiveness Americans have and the entrepreneurial spirit, as long as we know the rules, the business owner can invest and adapt and create. If the rules keep changing, that's where it's troublesome for people to know where to put their dollars, et cetera. And then, stay off social media, everybody.
That's just good life.
It's just good life.
That's just good life lesson right there. But the same is true of interest rates, right? If you have a market on interest rates that's changing, but gradually so, right? Then businesses can plan accordingly. But if you have significant overnight changes or quick short-term changes, then you have a problem with predictability and unable
Spot
to
on.
adjust.
Yeah, I mean, high rates, extremely high rates are not good, but relatively high rates today, 8%. That's not relatively high by any real measure.
No.
High rates, in an absolute sense, are not an issue, and low rates, in an absolute sense, are not an issue. But significant volatility in rates presents the issue, and when the Fed changed rates 11 times in 18 months, that presents the issue.
Yeah. Sure.
And the reverse is the concern. Don't just drop the bottom out of rates. That also creates issues for the players in the market.
Yes.
So
Those who invested in that.
yeah, so like you said, measured changes, directionally right changes is what you want to see. But I get it. In certain times, the government has to react and take course action.
One of the other things you mentioned earlier was the consolidation of banks, right?
Yeah.
We've seen a huge increase in. And one of the reasons, at least I know that happens, is because of the regulatory regime in which banks are forced to live. You hit certain numbers on how many assets you have under your control,
Right.
then you'll end up with even more regulation, and thus you land up with mergers so that you exceed it by a big enough margin to make up for the regulation, or you
Right.
do some interesting accounting to keep yourself under the number. So,
Some might.
Some might. So do you have concerns about what Encore's future looks like in that regard? I mean, is it the future regulatory regimes or getting gobbled up by somebody else needing to do a merger? Or?
Yeah, I mean, change is inevitable in all industries, and I think if you keep your focus on the customer and on the people, your people, and delivering what you do in the best manner possible on the people, you'll be just fine. Now, we've learned, small to big, there are transactions and price tags that are valuable for both sides of the party. So to sit here and say, we'll never sell, that's ridiculous. No bank can tell you that.
Of course not.
Maybe the top 3 or 4 banks, but yeah, that changing regulatory landscape has motivated a lot of those M&A deals. Maybe the regulations change. I don't know. But there is always a place for licensed banks in this country. I mean, we are the primary distribution of money for the Federal Reserve, and that's not going to change in my lifetime. I can't imagine.
So let's talk about one of the things I mentioned earlier, which is advice you might have. You didn't start out your life looking to be a banker.
No.
You were a future doctor, and then you were enticed into the world of entrepreneurship and banking and service,
Yeah.
which your bank does an incredible job of. But what advice do you have to somebody out there in college or high school who's thinking about, well, maybe I want to get into banking? Like, what should they be considering?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm a banker, so I can say this. My exposure to a banker was I'd go with my dad to the bank. He'd talk to the man with a mustache. I'd grab a sucker, and that was my experience. And so, I think just be curious. I think being curious is a real asset in general, and then especially in our industry, we get the front row seat to some of the coolest people and companies, and especially in this city, it's amazing. We're so diverse industry-wise. I mean, we're sitting in an amazing studio. I mean, people make money or have a business in myriad of ways, and it's just fascinating. That fascinates me. That sparked my curiosity, and so that was the most appeal. And when you really actually think about it, healthcare is not a whole lot dissimilar in terms of being a doctor. I mean, the human body is an organism. It's multiple systems working together. So is a company. I mean, the word organization comes from the same root word. It's living, it's breathing, it's constantly changing. Mm-hmm. So that has always been intriguing. And then I will say I had a lot of jobs, internships. I tried a lot, and that was helpful for me to kind of deduce down what I didn't like. I mean, that's just as valuable. But honestly, I think I think Mark Cuban said this, and if you might fact check me, but I think he said, figure out what you like in your 20s, get good at it in your 30s, and make money at it in your 40s, something like that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I'll give him credit for it if he didn't. But I really like that. And so, in the kids of today, I hate to say that broadly, there is an element of impatience. We're all impatient. We're hard driving, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
But I think the more curious you are to try and learn, because you will learn, we all know, we learn a lot more from our mistakes.
Absolutely. There's no question about that.
So make mistakes. The faster you make them, the faster you learn, and so on and so forth. That'd be my advice.
So, Mark, is there anything that we haven't asked you that you'd want people to know about Encore or yourself? Or?
No, I mean, I would encourage everybody to, like I said, we joked about social media, but, if there's one theme about my journey, and it's about people, treat the right people the right way, always. That never backfires. That will always pay dividends. Take care of people, take care of your community, invest in your community, whatever that community, lowercase c community is, your neighborhood, your church, your school, whatever. Mm-hmm. Engage with your community, help each other. There's health benefits to being part of a community.
Yes.
And so I think that's what's really valuable. And if you think you want to pursue a career where you live on an island or you're isolated somehow, that doesn't exist. You will interact with humans. So the more you can fine tune your interpersonal skills, the better. But at the end of the day, the world is good. People are good. Everyone's trying hard and help each other where you can. And again, it's just about having the right people in the mix. So I believe that, and I've been incredibly grateful to have amazing parents that taught me that, amazing wife that showed me that, and now I get to hopefully pass on a snippet of that to my 3 kids that sometimes agree with me, sometimes don't.
Hey, at least they sometimes agree with
Yeah.
you, right? How old are they, Mark?
I have a freshman daughter, a 6th grade daughter, and a 2nd grade son.
Oh, well, you're lucky the freshman still agrees with you. At least my experience is by the time they get that, they know a lot more than you do.
Yeah.
Or at least they think they do.
I'm officially the least smart person in the house.
Oh,
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt.
Too funny.
Again, thankfully they have an amazing mother, and so she guides the ship at home.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mark, for coming on. We
Thank you, guys.
greatly
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been really,
Great
really
to
great
see
time.
you. Yeah.